You know it's a good movie when I'm yelling at the screen multiple times. I am Brandon Scott Jensen. I am a year old, Gnostic, bisexual, polyamorous, bear cub, working on becoming a muscle cub, comic book artist and script supervisor, and I am obstreperous as f***. This is me ranting about one, or more, of my more than 3,000 DVDs and BluRays. My thoughts, a look at some of the extra stuff you may have skipped, and sometimes exclusive behind-the-scenes stuff, because I work in film, I know people, and I want a reason for this show. So stay tuned. As these are movies that I own, it may be mostly a big love fest. Mostly. I'd love to hear your thoughts about which of these thousands of films I should rant about. But if I don't own it, it's probably not happening. That said, let's do this. Today I'm going to be looking at the brand new movie just out today, Superman, Man of Tomorrow. I have a lot of thoughts about this movie, and unfortunately I can't say a lot about the plot because of spoilers, which I don't want to include. So let's start with the fact that there is a lot going for this film, and I don't want to say a lot wrong, but there are some things that could have worked better. To be honest, I had some pretty high hopes for this movie, and I don't think it's possible for it to have lived up to all of them. For starters, I had been told that this movie was at least partially inspired by this book, or rather trade paperback of several books together called Superman American Alien. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this book. Maybe I'll review it on my other show, Brandon's Comic Rant, which really needs a better title. But suffice it to say that it starts out really strong, but then just kind of fizzles out. It's very disjointed. Sometimes the art is strong, sometimes I don't care for it, but even the writing doesn't live up to the hype, or at least up to the opening story. I honestly feel like instead of pitching this as a multi-story arc, he should have just done the first book and called it a day. As for its influence on the film, I mean, other than a few cues like Superman's outfit and Clark being bothered by an alien movie, and Lois, not Clark, winning a scholarship for journalism, pretty much none. Maybe Lois's hairstyle? You can't really give them credit for the use of the character Lobo. And that's fine. As I said, the story was disjointed. We didn't need it. Again, it's hard to talk about this movie's plot because there are a lot of spoilers throughout, and I feel like the story was enhanced by my not knowing them. I kind of wish certain clips that were released early didn't give away major plot points, but what are you going to do? I will try to keep this spoiler-free. We get a glimpse into Clark Kent's childhood, but not much outside of he knows he's an alien and is scared by how aliens are portrayed in movies, and has a small pyramid that nobody has figured out. This is the only part I wish that they had taken from the American Alien book, the opening. It was killer, but alas, we are thrust forward in time to find Clark Kent as a 24-year-old intern at the Daily Planet. Something that is really interesting about this movie to me is the setting. In every way, shape, and form, the buildings, technology, the clothing, this movie looks like it takes place 20 to 30 years from now. It's very futuristic. However, everyone gets their news from printed on actual paper, newspaper. It's such an interesting juxtaposition. Lois documents audio and visuals on her phone, but pulls out a spiral notebook and pencil to take notes. Also, the music is so minimalist and scored like a horror movie. It's a bold choice, very different for animation, and I think it works, although it did take some getting used to. Lex Luthor is testing a rocket that he seems to know is going to kill many people in Metropolis, but he tests it anyway. It appears he was ready to play off the casualties as something he had no idea about, but thanks to this fresh new, also intern, I think, reporter, Lois Lane, it's proven that he does before the rocket even launches. Fortunately, the Flying Man is there to save them, and Lois's information takes him down, and she's made an official reporter for the Daily Planet. A lot of people have played Clark, Lois, and Lex, especially voice actors. I don't think anybody has ever come close to Dana Delaney's Lois from Superman the Animated Series, But for me, no one has ever really grabbed the voice character of Superman, or more specifically Clark Kent, because I'm definitely of the Lois and Clark philosophy that Clark is who he is and Superman is what he can do. And for that matter, while Clancy Brown had been a favorite Lex Luthor of mine, I'm gonna have to pass that title, in my opinion, to the guys in this film. Darren Criss just seems so excited to be playing this character. Maybe it's that enthusiasm that translates to Clark as the young intern turned Earth savior, but it's an incredible performance regardless. And Zachary Quinto as Lex is just so cool and calculating that it gives me goosebumps sometimes. I love them both. And while she's no Delaney, Alexandra Daddario is no slouch as a young Lois, though I will say she sounds older than 24.
Maybe because she's 10 years older than 24. Even though, so is Chris. I don't know. I guess I'm a misogynist now. Hashtag not really.
Soon after, we enter spoiler territory. Other aliens in DC's roster show up, both to help and to hurt the Flying Man, who grows to like the name that Lois gives him, Superman. Superman fights Lobo, causing him to lose his costume and exposing his bare ass that's gotta rival Nightwing's, quite frankly. If you get it, you get it.
And the animation, like the design, is stellar. It's the Answer Studio, who has done a few of these films. Most notable before this was Batman Under the Red Hood. And like that movie, they really shine here. They used to be Walt Disney Animation Japan until that bastard John Lasseter shuttered that, but that's another rant.
I wish I knew whose idea it was to show his bare ass in this, but I tried several times to get an interview with the film's writer, Tim Sheridan, who, to be fair, would have been down, but DC and Warner Brothers would not get back to me to sign off on it. So there is this serendipitous parallel where Lois is trying to get an interview with Superman, but can't seem to make it quite work because of some games that they're both playing, and I couldn't get an interview with Mr. Sheridan because of the games that Warner Brothers is playing. I just thought it was funny. But if something changes, I will do a follow-up to this video, but it's not looking too good. Superman ends up having to work with some folks who are, bad guys, in order to fight a larger threat. I really wish he had shown more hesitance for this, but I guess we gotta keep this story moving. Overall, it actually plays like a live-action film, and not just with the music. It's interesting. I like it, I guess, but then something else that I really love is who gives him his famous costume. It's not a spoiler, but since I really liked seeing it fresh, I'm not gonna say. Let's just say it's a really sweet callback to another continuity for which I have a soft spot. But even though these aliens look pretty humanoid, the big baddie of this film is... every trailer gives it away. It's Parasite, who of course looks like an alien, but is a human being who suffered a terrible accident. Parasite, of course, sucks the energy, life force, etc. out of anything living with which he comes in contact, killing them. This movie has a really high body count. Most incarnations I've seen of Parasite really have him crave this power that he builds. But this one, he's just doing it to survive. But then he grows bigger and bigger and bigger, and the trick is that Superman has to figure out how to stop him without fighting him. And obviously I'm not going to say how, but I will say that it was actually a very emotional moment for me. I know that I'm pretty white passing. I have a pretty white last name. But I am half Latino and also an eighth Navajo, so I have suffered from racial prejudices. Especially if I'm standing next to someone with lighter skin, like my boyfriend. And it sucks. I am proud of my Latino heritage, so it really sucks when people in power say horrible things. And then I have to hear people defend it. People who will also say that things like Karen or Whitey is hurtful. Just saying. I do kind of wish that this movie was called Superman American Alien, because Its greatest strength is the analogy of space aliens as foreign country aliens. When watching the previews, I had wondered why we always need to include other Justice Leaguers in Superman movies, but, I mean, including John, it just works so perfectly. And it's interesting because there is no blatant, in-your-face, one-to-one equivalent scenario of Superman saving a group of undocumented immigrants. Which, you know, happened a few years ago, and conservatives absolutely lost their shit.
Even though this has always been Superman's stance, so yeah.
But again, that's kind of the unsung genius of this movie, and why I think it should have been called that. This movie, in many ways, is exactly what we as a country here in the US needs right now. And as with some of the best movies, in my opinion, a great climax comes not from spectacle and what makes the biggest explosions, or whose goddamn neck you snap, or who you decide not to save, but what makes a hero in my eyes. Compassion. As always, thank you to Craig Butler, my first Patreon. Please consider joining my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Check out the link below. It's not only about shoutouts, but you can get copies of my book, Lunaria, and other perks as well. Something that costs you nothing, however, is to leave a comment below and also hitting that like button, sharing this video on all of your social media, and if you haven't already, subscribed. I am really trying to up my subscribers, so I would so appreciate it. If you head over to my latest comic rant, I'm doing a contest to help that. So if you want to click the video up here, you can get the details there. Again, thank you so much for watching, and stay safe, my friends.